Well, hello everybody. What is going on in your world? We are back with another episode on the channel. It is One Leeds. Make sure you're slapping a like on the video, everybody, after an absolutely stupendous weekend for the Whites. Not only did Sheffield United lose in absolutely incredible fashion, I have to say, to bottom of the table at Plymouth Argyle after a few gnarly words by Wilder in midweek about Muslich, their manager, but we see the after effects. We see Chris Wilder going at the Plymouth fans and then trying to fight Darko JB. The narrative is perfect there. Leeds United getting the win. A much better performance than what we've seen in the past month. I thought the Borough performance was an incremental change as well. It kind of fed into Leeds' hands. But yesterday we came up against a team with nothing to play for. A la Swansea, QPR, Portsmouth, and Leeds under pressure got the job done. And that is the key word we're going to be focusing on tonight, everybody. Pressure. Leeds actually rising for once in our lifetimes. A lot of you, I know. Listen, some of you will be older statesmen on this YouTube channel, and you've seen the good times. A lot of us, 30s, even 40s. Definitely 20s as well. When it comes to outside Marcelo Bielsa, the pressure has cracked way too many times for this club, albeit in the Premier League and Championship campaigns, and even towards the back end of a certain League One campaign with Jermaine Beckford putting it in at Old Trafford. So yeah, welcome one, welcome all. We're back with Gabe. It's your Sunday night supplement. It is the Hardline. What is going on, everybody? Let me know in the comment section below. Do me a favor. We need a lot of help when it comes to the algorithm in 2025. Please slap a like. We mentioned this earlier on, everybody. In 2025, PN UK has released the football channel statistics, and I'm absolutely humbled. Everybody who comes on the channel, I mentioned it in the video this morning, but in 2025, we've nearly got 2 million views on the channel, and we stick in 25th in the football fan channel dedicated space, YouTube space in the country. So thank you so much for that. Really appreciate all of your support. It's a grind, and thank you to all my contributors for coming on. We've got one absolutely, in my opinion, brilliant guest on this evening, crystallized view as well on a Sunday. And I'm going to start with him before we get into the comments. It is Gabe. He's back. How you doing, mate? And I feel there's before we start, mate, there's just something that you want to get off your chest. You owe maybe an apology to someone?
Oh, yeah. Especially to the people over at Mothcombe Beach, in and around the Plymouth area. I've been making fun of your shit town for months, and
I had no idea what he was going to say about it.
I have to say, I am wrong. I am so sorry to the people of Plymouth. Your town is beautiful. You're all attractive. Your football is excellent. I see what the hype is about.
Oh, Jesus.
Thank
What a
you
place.
so much for existing, for winding up Chris Wilder, and for taking JB, who seems to have wound up that manager. Listen, yesterday was your day. So everybody, just if you're in the chat, just give a little for Plymouth. The weather may not be nice. You may not want to swipe on Tinder if you're down there, but I'll tell you what, yesterday, you're all kings and queens.
Yeah.
You have my deepest apologies for the slander I've given you throughout the season.
Yes, and you're going to have to start doing this with certain towns who do us a favour in the future, maybe. There's a certain town maybe in the Premier League who you've been slagging off for the best part of 3 years who we could come up against if we do get there, of course.
Not interested. This is all about Plymouth. Thank you, Plymouth.
Right, mate, I want to start on him. I shared a clip today, which was Wilder. Which was Wilder. I don't know if you've seen it. I need to send you.
I haven't seen a manager lose the plot like this in a while.
No,
it's been a couple weeks in a row.
I almost want to get. I almost want to get your live reaction.
Right.
I know you don't have Twitter anymore, so this is quite difficult. But if anyone knows a way around it, but I put a tweet up and I saw it on TikTok, so I just screen recorded it and stuck it on. And it's Chris Wilder basically arguing with the fans, and he turns around and says, "You're still going down. You're still going down, fat boy." To a Plymouth fan, and it is he's absolutely cracked, Chris Wilder. It feels anyway like he's absolutely cracked, and this is absolutely by no means that this is a signed, sealed, delivered Leeds are promoted. We know how much a week can change things. We have to say that, but this from Chris Wilder is generational, Gabe. This is
a week, basically a week after Warnock came out and said he was a top manager, could manage a top side. He's like, you can't tell me Chris Wilder can't manage a top side. It's like, yes, we can, and we will.
It's cracked now, hasn't it? Though he's completely cracked. It feels like it's all got to him fighting in the tunnel. The words against the Plymouth manager at the beginning of the week, where he said, well, there's almost like a likelihood they're going down, so the pressure's more on them. What I've noticed with Chris Wilder is he hates it when an opposition manager says about Chris Wilder that the pressure's on his team. He will not let that go. He will not let that go. And he's done it with Danny Roll. He's done it with Forshaw and Bamford in the past. He's now doing it with Muslich at Plymouth. He really hangs on to that. Oh, they think the pressure's on us, do they? It really offends him. And Gabe, I mentioned it yesterday. It's almost like a good thing. Obviously, having a fan in charge of your club, my God. And Sheffield United have been lucky. They've had Warnock. They've had Chris Wilder now for big periods and successful periods really in their history when it comes to where they've been and what they've done. But what has to be said is there is a line of which I think Chris Wilder has almost crossed maybe a little bit this week. He's called a bunch of the fans a disgrace, and I think it is. I think it is because he's a fan, Gabe. He's a fan of the football club as well as an employee, and I think sometimes those lines emerged a little bit, and it's been mental.
He's literally like one of those people who, if you tell them to calm down, he's like, "Don't you tell me to calm down!" It just like goes crazy. Or you say like, "Relax," and he gets angry for you being quote disrespectful. Yeah, I mean, he's an equivalent of an old man shaking his cane at people, telling them to get off his lawn. It's hysterical to watch, and I mean, he's basically got the self-destructive tendencies of Mourinho with like none of the pedigree. So it is quite funny to see at this level somebody completely losing their head. But to be fair, if we had kept Ilan Meslier in between the posts against Middlesbrough or going forward, I probably would be in a similar headspace. So I'm pleased that didn't happen.
Should we start? We'll get into a couple of comments. Danny, as always, Danny top man. He's always gifting memberships. Danny's
a top guy.
Give him some love in the chat, everybody. Here, you can't say enough. Thank you, Plymouth. Evening, gentlemen. Hi, Steve. Evening, chaps. Burnley fan, Andy Duckworth, always measured. Evening, chaps. Chris Wilder is wild. Quite like it, to be honest, but it does not drive discipline into the team. I agree. I was mentioning earlier on, I can't be contradictory here and hypocritical as well. I was saying, in this run-in, it's kind of someone who you really want, but I'll be honest with you, Gabe, so from almost like the passion side and it feels like I don't know. It's not measurable. Any of this
difference between passion and being that way.
No, you are right, and it's qualitative. Really, it's it's not numerical, but you feel. You could maybe measure Chris Wilder's decibels increasing every single match, but it feels like he just delves into that fan side of it a little bit too much. And this is probably the first time on a run-in, especially with us, where I've looked at it and I've gone, oh yeah, maybe that's just it's kind of just tipped over the way of which you don't want it to. It can work for you, of course it can, if you harness that. But right now it feels like, especially the last 2 weeks, he's making poor decisions, I feel. Sid says, good evening, gents. I hope you're still well. Buzzing atmosphere on the road yesterday. Unbelievable, dare I say. Nearly there. Leeds in the building as well. Hit a like, everyone. Let's move this great channel up the YouTube ratings. Thank you so much, mate. Really appreciate that. Folks in the building. Now then, Connor, check out the Totty shirt. Yes, mate. I've got to rep it up. Look how it's glistening in the light, mate. You don't do football shirts like this anymore. There's nothing like sincerity and actually. Yeah, exactly. Carl says, thanks, Connor. Love the content from Round Day. Michael says, hi, Connor. Could this weekend get any better? Leeds winning, Blaze losing, and Scum losing. Loving the content. Man United losing. I was just like, mwah, perfect. What a weekend. Right, sir. Well, where do you want to start? Should we delve in a little bit more on Sheffield United? Do you want to talk about
let's start with the biggest difference between this week at this time and last week at this time, right? Last week at this time, our brains were about a hair's breadth from being broken, right? And I think the main reason is, and there's a lot you can talk about in terms of football data, the representation of what happens on the pitch articulated through math. It's beautiful. It's lovely. But sometimes it's not that deep, guys. The biggest data and analytics sign would match all of your eyeballs all season when you looked at who was in between the goalposts and the goals we were letting in and how good this team is and where we should be on the table. For all the complaints I have about Daniel Farke, and I've listed a lot of them over the last couple of weeks, my biggest one was the goalkeeper choice. Well, it seems that he finally got turned that idea around. Carl Darlow, in my opinion, is not a world-class keeper. He's not a fantastic keeper, but he's better than Elan Melier, which we've been saying all season. And I tell you what, the fruits of that labor were so on display. He's not great with his feet, but he still makes smart choices. If there's pressure, he knows the defenders can't handle it, doesn't want to put them under pressure. He hoofs the ball down the pitch. Or sometimes he tries to play them out of pressure. He makes the safe choice. Yeah, he's a little bit rusty, as you saw with the yellow card he picked up for handling the ball outside the box. But the reality is, look, it makes a huge difference on your defenders, even the way your central midfield tracks back and the way that they decide to play forward in certain situations, knowing that somebody is in between the posts with a little bit of self-assurance. And I think that's made a massive difference. If we're in a scrap, and the football's not been pretty, right? I don't care. At this point in the season, I just want us to get by and get good results. We're playing teams that aren't particularly great, right? I mean, I don't think anyone's going to say that Preston's turning up any trees this season. Middlesbrough, I do think, can be a handy side. However, the style of play, I think plays into our advantages versus theirs. But the reality is a 1-0, a 2-1. I don't care about the nitpicky bits that you can look in terms of how we're playing. I don't think if Elan Melier is in goal that those score lines are the way they are. I think that the defenders play worse. The midfield plays worse. They're a little bit more scared. There was a self-assurance in the performance, I think, that comes in that kind of confidence by having a sure set of hands in goal. So I'm not trying to say it's the only change that need to be made all season, but it's the one that has the biggest, both statistical and unquantifiable impact on this team, Elan Melier being out the side. So if you're looking for me to come back and say that all criticism is water under the bridge to a certain degree until the end of this season, you're right. Most importantly, though, I never want to see Elan Melier play for Leeds United again. I never want to see him in goal this season. As long as we can continue the way we are, I see us in the Premier League next season, and all those other criticisms can be saved for another day.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think right now, I think that's a perfect way of putting it. I think there might be qualms. People still might be a little bit jittery because last week we had not just, over the month, really, not just hundreds of comments, but thousands of comments, displaying concern with whether it's utilization of personnel, it's tactical switches, it's, certain choices. I'm talking, guys, in the thousands of responses to this. It's been the most engaged month one of the most engaged months we've ever had. You guys have just been flooding with your opinions, positive and negative. So it's definitely something that is, a conversation starter. And I don't think anybody should just, put that to the side. Now we've done what we've done. What I will say though is right now he's on the way to get promoted, which was the MO. So let's not.
Best team he's ever had. I'm happy. I'm happy we're gonna get promoted with that team.
Yeah.
Ask me in a couple weeks what you don't even have to. Like I already said what I wanted to do next season. If you're looking in the ecosystem of managers, there's a lot of great managers, very good managers that are going to be available. I think that's a conversation we need to have in terms of where we want to get. That being said, though, as much as I didn't like to leave it late, it looks like with the Blades falling off a little bit of a cliff and our run of fixtures coming up, we don't even have to win all those games for us to go up. And I think the next games we play, I would rather just win 2 more straight and be able to have the remaining games be more of a coronation. But, that being said, Oxford, Stoke, Bristol City, a huge resurgence and are playing well. And Plymouth, I mean, these are winnable matches. So let's, me, I like to, I don't like to count my chickens before they hatch. But that being said, I feel much better about this season. And there's no reason for me to, again, there's nothing to rant about. We just won 2 straight games.
100%,
so I'm happy. I don't want to be sitting here saying, do you know what, if we had done X, Y, Z, although I do want to point out that we were only really talking about like a sacking scenario if we had lost to Middlesbrough, Melier hadn't been changed. And the condition we mentioned is if they were talking to managers in the background for weeks.
Well, not only that, but it's not just backing yourself up. But we both said as well, this would have to be done at the end of the season. It's too late, so you've got to stick with it. So we've stuck with it anyway. Not that there was going to be any change. And I want to sweep this under the carpet, everybody, because I want this to be a positive stream as well. But just looking at it, I think the Melier switch was done way too late. Should have been on the 24th of October. We're all aware of that. I think everybody's well aware of that. This could have been a lot easier just by that change.
We're going to be called negative. Let's talk about.
We know we are. We know we're going to get battered anyway for
2 wins in a row. I don't care how they happen.
Yeah, exactly. And Farke has got 2 wins in a row. You've got to praise confidence on that. You might have done something in the changing rooms. There's certain tactical bits that I want to talk about. So well done, Daniel Farke, for that, and well done the players. And we can park that conversation for another day. And I think that's right to do so. So, okay, let's just get into a few more comments. Lee said 7 points needed for guaranteed promotion. I'm just going to get your thoughts on that as well, Gabe, in a second. If we are mathematically promoted with games to spare, then he will drop Darlow. Gabe is spot on. Darlow is okay, which is a vast improvement on Melly. And shout out to everybody who's just joined as well. Jared says the room mill will be epic this summer. Oh, mate, it's going to be back in full swing. No puns there, of course. Right, I wanted to talk to you about the different, how you think this is going to go now. So I didn't expect this. I don't think you expected this. I cannot actually quite believe, with the level that Sheffield United were at in terms of 8 wins in 9, what's happened. 3 losses on the bounce: Oxford, Millwall, and with the greatest of respect, Plymouth. I don't think anybody expected that. And that is
sometimes things break our way, though. We shouldn't be dependent on it, but sometimes it breaks our way.
Of course, and it has broken our way, and it's staggering. Really, it's unbelievable. So I guess the conversation is now into the chat. We've all thought about it. Let's be honest. All of us have thought about it. How is this working mathematically? How do we think this will go? And ultimately, Gabe, we could be looking at a scenario in almost a week's time where it's nearly sealed. Potentially. We've got, obviously, the next 4 games. We've got Bristol City, obviously second to last game, but we've got the ones coming up over the Easter weekend. Leeds United have got Oxford away on Friday night.
If you win Oxford and Stoke, we get promoted.
So yeah, is that kind of where?
Yeah, there's a 5-point gap. Yeah. Sheffield and Burnley still have to play each other. I think Burnley.
I guess the whole thing is, Gabe, it's when. When do you think it will happen? And I'm interested to get what the chat knows. Emma said, depending on results, we could go up Easter Monday. Chris says as well, we all know how Leeds love Easter weekend, though. It's interesting when you're looking at the different.
So superstitious. I'll never understand
it. But it would be nice over an Easter weekend.
Why would it be nice over an Easter weekend? What's special about an Easter weekend?
We love a Easter weekend. People aren't at work. It's chilled. It's nice.
You don't work on a weekend anyway.
No, but it's like Friday to Monday.
Oh, like 2 bank holidays you get.
Yeah.
You get 4 days off in a row for Easter.
Yeah, sometimes the sun's out.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so yeah, man. I think it's as Mick says there, it's a biblical weekend. So it just feels like it would be very nice for that to happen. And do you think it's achievable? I mean, you look at Sheffield United; they've got Cardiff at home, fighting for their lives. Cardiff, they've not had great problems. They've had great problems. Their manager Riese, but they do then again have Burnley on Monday, which is when Leeds play Stoke at home, obviously Easter Monday. How do you think this is going to go? And when do you think, and I know we are cautiously optimistic, but do you think Leeds could be promoted on Easter weekend?
Perhaps. I have a question to posit to you that I think this would be an interesting read on where we're at headspace-wise. Would you rather Leeds get promoted just by winning 2 straight, or Leeds get promoted by Sheffield United losing the rest of their fixtures? Because the gap would be big enough that way. I'm pretty sure that there's no way we could lose second place in that event.
Yeah, I think you win 2, and I think even if they win,
but forget our wins. What if they just lost the rest of their matches?
Yeah, it'd be funny.
Would you rather that go up that way?
No, I think I'd rather us win our 2. Okay. I think why? What would you rather?
I mean, obviously, I prefer to win.
Jared says Sheffield losing. I just don't trust us enough. I like how it's gone from a preference to an actual how Jared thinks it's going to go here.
I mean, fair. I mean, for me, it's like for me, I think it would be really funny just to watch the head loss in Sheffield. But that being said, I prefer to win. So
there needs to be something. I think for the remainder of the season, there needs to be some sort of like manager cam on Chris Wilder. There has to be some manager cam. Every single game, I have to see what he's doing. I want to watch Chris Wilder above Leeds at the minute, to be honest. I just want to see what's going on.
Do you remember, I know you hate it when I reference this film, but do you remember the halftime during Mexico-England and Mike Bassett And he comes
You
in,
love
he
this,
just
no.
starts swearing. Pass it to, they shouldn't be shouting at me. I think Chris Wilder's probably home, like shouting at his wife that way about football right now.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
just,
the head is truly gone.
yeah.
I wanted to speak as well about there's been an interesting bit of, I don't want to get into bloody debate now. It's about glazing over Leeds and being really happy at the minute, but I think there's outstanding performers yesterday. I've been criticised a little bit when it comes to Willie Gnonto, actually. So my rationale with Willie Gnonto coming in, I didn't think he had a bad performance. There's a few people saying that maybe he had a bit of a poor performance. And then because I tried to justify it, there's a few people saying, well, he's your favourite. Okay. But
Is
what
he
I
your
will
favorite?
say,
I don't think he's your favorite.
yeah, he's not. No, I mean, if anyone, people have been lambasting me with the one Ramazani fan channel, which is absolutely fair enough. But Willie Gnonto, recently, I haven't been glazing him at all, to be honest with you. But I thought you saw an unbelievable performance from Jayden Bogle, and I wanted to touch on Willie Gnonto a little bit because I think it was probably Bogle's best performance of the season.
Bogle was pretty rapid. He was very difficult to contain.
But I think as well, the reason is because a lot of the time you had Willie Gnonto doing maybe something a little bit different to Dan James. Dan James, I think, has probably been our player of the season. But Dan James naturally gets, when Bogle has the ball, what does Dan James do? He goes, doesn't he? Immediately on his burners, trying to get beyond that offside line. I think what you get with Willie Gnonto a little bit is him closing the gap between Jayden Bogle and those sort of long spaces, which means that you get a little bit more combination play. And then you see Jayden Bogle a lot of the time. We saw a lot of the time yesterday, Gabe, him being way further forward than Willie Gnonto. I actually thought Gnonto did a really good job in terms of when you're looking at Leeds positionally yesterday in unlocking Jayden Bogle, because the positional awareness, as I say, the sequence and combination play was just really good. I thought between them both, they linked up excellently. And it's just a different player to Dan James, who obviously wants that ball in behind.
Well, I wouldn't say it was a better... Like, if you're asking me who I prefer with them both right now, I'd play Dan James.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying.
No,
that.
I know. I know that's not what you're saying.
I'm saying I think it's Jayden Bogle's percentages yesterday were brilliant. His goal was excellent. I thought it was everywhere. It's probably his best game. But I think as well, there's a lot of credit that needs to be laid at Willie Gnonto's door for coming in on that right hand side where he's not been playing as he's been playing in that 10 when he ever has been coming in. I thought he put in a decent performance.
Yeah, it was decent. My frustrations with Gnonto continue to be sort of like what he shows that he can do and then his level of focus to deliver it. It's just, if I was a manager, he would frustrate me more because he has more capability than the average player.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah.
He just there are times as well, just like small things like where he puts a ball, just a finish at the end of a run, just small things that, again, I would probably be guilty as a manager, probably nitpicking and going a little bit too in on the guy, because I just think I get too fixated on what could have been on XYZ play and what he can deliver versus what he actually does. That being said, I thought he was decent. Like, he didn't really stand out to me as a top performer yesterday, but he didn't stand out to me as like he had a poor match either. And it was nice to see Farke use some subs a little bit more proactively as well. And that was good. I think for me, Bogle, you can make the argument, like, does he play as rapidly because he feels like he has to because Dan James is out, or because Gnonto's freeing them up to do so? I think it's more of it depends on what your perspective on Gnonto and James are. I thought we missed Dan James a little bit, but the reality is that, got a result. Yeah, but his performance didn't stand out to me as great or poor. It was inconsistent. There were some cool moments. I was like, oh, nice Gnonto. And then there are others I was shouting at the television, you should be killing this guy. What are you doing?
Well, something I wanted to not only just Bogle, but Gabe, wasn't it nice? And I don't just want to speak on Carl Darlow here, because we had some actual safe hands between the sticks, which is what we've been crying out for.
Yeah, people are saying in the comments, Darlow player of the season.
Yeah, exactly. And they're not wrong. It's what an impact it's been. But I would say is the impact of us actually putting decent corners in. I thought our dead ball delivery yesterday was absolutely superb. I thought Gruev was the better midfielder in there with Tanaka. I thought he was excellent yesterday.
Tanaka's gassed. He's never played this many games. You can tell he's really tired. That's not even a criticism. I'm sure he'll be so happy for the offseason to come.
But what did you think? What did you? I mean, the dead balls coming in were. I mean, I couldn't believe it. The end. I couldn't believe. I mean, there was one that bobbled wide. I think it bobbled off Gruev and stumbled wide. Rodon missed a few, of which it was just maybe jumping.
Our finishing in set pieces continues to be
Yeah,
poor.
it's not good. It's not good.
I don't know what we need to do next season to improve set pieces. It's not even just a Daniel Farke issue. It's been before that as well. Just set pieces, we just seem to be dire. But you know, I thought the delivery was much improved. I agree. I thought Gruev was good yesterday. In a number of ways. I mean, he still frustrates me. Now that you brought it up, it frustrates me that there will be sometimes he'll drop back to get the ball and he'll have acres of space in front of him. And instead of just half turning, he just kind of, I don't know, the way he receives the ball, he ends up just keeping his back towards up the pitch and just plays it back to the goalkeeper. But anyway, whatever. I mean, it was one of those matches where nobody really, besides Bogle, I think, nobody really stood tall above everybody else, but everybody had a half decent performance.
Like
even Aronson, I thought was okay. You know, like
I think Solomon's first half was probably his best half of the season. I think Solomon was really good in that first.
I don't know if I'm ready to say that. He's had a couple. I think that's recency bias, but compared to how he's been playing lately, yeah, I agree. I mean, he certainly, he was certainly incredibly impactful. It was one of the. It was a weird game. We were playing a kind of substandard opponent.
Yeah. But if it doesn't feel like a win right now is more than a win. That's kind of where I'm at.
100%.
That's what I mean, mate. It just feels like Preston, 4 injuries, like big players out yesterday, you know, but it doesn't matter. Like to win that game and the context of Sheffield United losing, it's just massive. Like, so it feels a little bit more, in my opinion, than it's like, you know, you look at the opposition, you think, well, they're poor, they're not great, they haven't got full strength, well, they've got nothing to play for. It just doesn't matter, does it?
No,
Leeds get the win. And in all fairness, Gabe, as well, the XG, I know you're an XG man, nearly 4. How we didn't put at least 4 goals past them is staggering, really.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen Pirou have this run of like unlucky finishes in his career. You can tell he's just desperate for a goal. He'll probably bag like a couple of the last couple of games of the season. But
what did you think to him yesterday?
You know, again, like he missed a lot of chances, right? And you have to judge a striker on that. That's like their job, you know. I thought his link-up play was fine. But again, you know, the opponent was poor. There's nobody that stood out to me as like having a shocking game. But again, besides Bogle, maybe, nobody else was like, oh, 8 or 9 out of 10. You know what I mean? It was just kind of like a bunch of 7s and 6 point knots, you know? And that's all you need against a team like Preston. But again, I'm going to just point this out. I think in a game like that, if Melier is between the sticks, you can get in trouble. You know,
Gabe, they stopped putting the balls in on they put one corner in on the goalkeeper. I can't remember a big physical team doing that. That by the way, that is by design a lot of the time when teams are coming up against Leeds, because it's still the second tier.
Just hit it near the net and see what happens.
Mate, it's still a top 10 leagues. A lot would say like a top 6 league in Europe. Like this, you know, everybody behind the scenes is going to be what in Europe? What, the second tier, no?
Don't make me fixate on what you're saying with a small point.
What you're saying?
I'm not sure that the championship is top 6 in Europe. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. 10. We can go with 10.
Go with 10. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. It's in the top 10. I was like,
no, we'll go with 10.
6.
Yeah,
Come on.
I will go out there and sincerely apologize for that. It's 10.
Yes, Jason Cundy or something like that.
I've lost my train of thought now. So I think obviously we're going to get the guys behind the scenes being very, very well aware, very, very well aware of Illan Melle's deficiencies and thus Leeds United's deficiencies. So for me, it was so interesting yesterday. They put one ball in, Darlow claimed it. They put another ball in at the end, Darlow claimed it. But when they did have possession, they were actually, I saw a heat map and they're actually trying to work it centrally. A lot of the balls weren't coming in from the left and the right. It was more Leeds doing that on the other side. You know, they weren't getting long balls into the box. They weren't putting balls onto the keeper, because now we have an efficient keeper who's just not completely brain dead in these situations. I mean, people were saying that down at Ellen Road, Gabe. It was like when he was catching a ball, it was like Leeds had scored a goal, especially that one at the end when the ball comes in into the box. It's not on Darlow, but he comes out and claims it. And you're thinking, that is just brilliant.
People used to applaud Melier for punching a ball away. I want you to think about that. Like if I'm a center half and the ball comes in and my goalkeeper just punches the ball away, it's one of the least controlled ways you can deal with a spinning cross, right? You just literally blunt force getting the ball away. It can go to anyone, especially like your job as a keeper, especially when it's tall as Melier, is to collect that ball, snuff out the danger, and retain possession for your side. The things that we used to do, the hoops and the cartwheels, the mental gymnastics to just justify Melier's place in the team. Again, I don't think Carl Darlow is like a world beater. He's a very competent goalkeeper at this level, maybe in the Premier League for a shorter run, but he's not, I don't think he's on anyone's short list for their number one in a top league. And it just shows you how deficient we were at that position. And you cannot tell me, I don't mean to harp on, I'm not trying to bully anyone, but you cannot tell me that doesn't impact the way the defenders play and the way the central midfielders play, the level of assurances they have, and the confidence that they're going to have in possession. You try things in possession if and when hey, if I lose the ball and they just shoot one on the goal, at least I have a half decent keeper. But if you have a guy who will find ways to give them chances, or in many cases, basically throw the ball into his own goal, you're not going to play well. It's just a fact, especially if it's match after match after match. So I feel bad. Again, I'm not trying to just dunk on Melier. I mean, obviously, this has got to feel like crap for him. I'm sure he'll retreat into the millions of pounds that he earns and probably buy happiness or buy some solace that neither of us can afford. So I don't feel that bad criticizing him. It's certainly nothing personal. I'm sure he's a lovely guy. Seen some of the stuff he's done behind the scenes for sick kids and stuff. That's great. That being said, I think we're done. I think we're done here when it comes to Melier and Leeds United. I hope so. If I see him come back into the side just to add a little dash of drama in the last couple of matches, I'll be back to where I was emotionally last week, and nobody wants that. Or maybe some of you do, you sick people. Some of you do want to see me.
Some of them do. Some of them do it with me, mate. They love it with me as well, especially Sheffield United fans. Talking of Sheffield United fans, Ricky from Just United says, finally, Farke finally got the courage to drop Melier when I don't think Wilder has the courage to drop Robinson, and that could cost us. Yeah, they've got... Ricky, I said he was it might be a harsh word, mate, but I said... he was a bozo from day one. There's a couple of bozos in everybody's team, or maybe a bozo, a bit of a bomb scare. Jack Robinson from day dot was that bomb scare for Sheffield United. I mean, him dragging down that Plymouth centre forward as well. I mean, that, if Cooper's not coming out and getting that and he's thrown goal, it's a straight red card, and it's a free kick just on the outside of the area. He's too. I think he's too hands-on, Jack Robinson. He's too physical. He's all over the place. He's scatty. He's not composed. And so I have Rob Holding on the bench, who seems to be avoiding injury and not playing him at championship level. I think is mental, to be honest with you. Anthony says 100%. I believe 49ers will give Farke. Let's not get into that now. Darlow is the best keeper we've had since Rob Green. I agree with you there, Ryan. I think that's spot on, mate.
And poor Rob Green, he's none more for a howler than he is for the really solid career he had year after year after year.
Yeah, to you he is. To you he is. I wonder why.
You don't remember it for England in the World Cup?
No, I remember him for Leeds. But yes, that is in the back of my head as well. But true, yes. Yeah. Jared says, I'm reassured why Firpo isn't in our plans next season. Yeah,
I hate to tell people this. Is now the time for this? Probably, because if we have favorable results...
Briefly, do it briefly.
We're probably going to have more celebration time, and we're going to have to wrap our heads around how to get in that headspace, because we're not used to that. But hate to tell people this, but most of this team will not be playing major minutes next season for Leeds United if we're in the Premier League. If this is not a Premier League team.
They've been there all. Yeah, it's not a Premier League team. It's not a Premier League team.
Yeah. So overhaul in a lot of different ways. But the good news is, because we didn't decide to spend in January, and when you look at PSR and all that kind of stuff, financial fair play, Leeds are in a huge position to invest a lot of money, which is what you're going to have to do. Basically, the entire net worth of the city of Plymouth, I think.
Oh God, shut up! That's a good point. It's a good, but you need to do that.
But listen, I'm very thankful for that pedestrian club giving us the assist.
Okay, great. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think you do look at January, and it feels like. I mean, now it looks like an absolute masterstroke. Of course, it does. But I think a lot of us were very much like anyway. When it came to the bare minimum, it just had to be the goalkeeper out. And I think even with the goalkeeper out...
But it turns out you had somebody already that you didn't have to go buy that could have done a half-decent job. Because when you think about the points just that were thrown away through Melier, and again, sounds like picking on him again, but at minimum, 11-point difference. We would be, what, 16 points clear second. If you add that in, I mean,
yeah.
We've been saying all season, and even the people that wanted January business, some people were talking about 4 or 5 players. They'll still say this is the best team in the league by far. Sheffield United fans will say that as well. Burnley fans have said that, right? So I guess maybe there's one Sheffield United fan who thinks the best 11 should be like 9 players from Sheffield. But
one specific one.
Yeah, one specific one who we like, by the way. I've not met him. Seems like a really good guy. But the home team glasses are very thick over those eyes.
They are indeed, and just for I'm putting Bamford having that goal against Borough for that terrible officiating, even though it didn't stand irritatingly. But you look at Adam Armstrong, Gabe. I think he's got from January, who we were kind of looking. Well, loads of people wanting. I think he's got 1 goal, 2 goals. It's not really worked for him whatsoever. I know some of the Baggies fans aren't happy with him at all. So, I think it's kind of good that we've kept our hands in our pockets a little bit. And like you've quite rightly said, if we do get to the Premier League, which is now looking pretty likely. And the thing is as well, when we rocked up into January, what did we have? 53 goals. We'd scored 53 goals. It was a lot. It was a hell of a lot. And the whole narrative there was Leeds are just, blowing teams away. And look, obviously we'd had the odd game, but it was 2.1 goals per game that Leeds was scoring. We weren't really in a dire need for a striker. And I think the whole rhetoric with a striker was, what if Peru gets injured? And I sort of come on here and I'd say, well, he's the brilliant thing about Joel Peru is he's never injured. He's literally never.
Right. I think very available. And I think there's this mentality because there's this fear. We've talked about it all season, right? There's this fear. We've shown it. We've not just heard about it. We've shown it that we always expect the worst things to happen to us. So we sort of need to collect all the Infinity Stones. By the way, Thanos lost that war, so it doesn't always work.
Nerd.
But by the way, thinking about this, are we allowed to think about what the Premier League is going to be like next season with 56,000 potentially Leeds United fans singing "I Predict a Riot"? Oof.
Yeah, well, that's obviously. I mean, there's been a few bits in around that, hasn't there? Today, almost instantaneously, if Leeds are to go up, that stadium expansion will be happening. And we've kind of known about it, haven't we, Gabe? Now for 2 or 3 years, when it comes to the 49ers involvement, that is their primary objective, really, to get more people at Ellen Road, to give it a lick of paint as well, and the rest. But 56,000 is going to be almost, it feels like that green button's going to be pressed as soon as Leeds United, or if Leeds United had to get promoted, which is exciting, isn't it?
Yes. Yep. It is. It is exciting. Someone's just posted, "It's not done. Let's not get too happy. This is Leeds United." Manjeet, listen, I'm trying to be positive here, man. It's not my natural state of being. So
Manjeet, just so you know, mate, I cannot win. Gabe cannot win. We're positive, we're negative, we're in the middle. Whatever we do, there's a problem, mate. So you've got to bear with us here. We're not, what we've said in here multiple times, it's not done. If you listen to the language as well, mate, it's always if we are able to do this, and that button being pressed is going to be exciting if we do get up there. Riley says, "I have my problems with Farker. I'm not sure he's won for the Premier League, but at least he's not Wilder." Showing
100%, Riley. I think that's apt.
Yeah, imagine if Farker right now, and that is one thing.
Having to go at the fans.
Oh God! Imagine that with Leeds fans as well, mate. That's not going to go down well. That's not going to go down well. And going at other players, it's erratic, and I just don't think that's
one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Honestly,
God says, "Good evening, Connor and Gabe. You were wandering around Cottonmouthorpe today. Yes, God, and shout out to you, mate. I did have an objective, probably not. Let's not
go too tracking your movements now.
Clearly, yeah. Gordon's following me. William says, "Boys, we'll do it. We just need to be calm and composed." William, that's a fantastic profile picture. It's like you've had that done at a photo shoot, mate. Well done. Benjio says, "I'll bet anyone a tenner that we don't get a left back." That's a very specific bet, mate.
Leif Davis.
Yeah, my dad said that today. The old man says that today. He said Leif Davis. Rajiv says, "Even lads, feels relaxing to hear what the future holds. Enjoying this moment, but do you reckon Farker has to change approach like Thomas Frank in the Premier?" That's a really good point, Rajiv.
I would like Thomas Frank in the Premier League. Rajiv.
No, but I think Rajiv's talking about the style.
No, I know what he's talking about. I'm saying that if I were Parag, I would invite Thomas Frank over to Ellen Road.
Oh yes,
I'll let Billy Bean go into Fenway Park in Moneyball and say, "Hey,
yeah, that would be nice." But yeah, I think there's a conversation there, Rajiv. Definitely, obviously, they were a fully fledged attacking machine, weren't they, in the Championship? They were absolutely frightening Brentford, and obviously they had to come to the Premier League. And Thomas Frank, being the smart man that he is, changed into a little bit more defensive, a little bit conservative, but obviously works on that counter attack as well, and didn't he, with Mbuemo and Tony, and he's adapted that again. They've evolved without Tony, and by the way, with that club's investment, really, when you've got Visser there, when you've got Mbuemo, I believe someone read something out that they went up with Visser, Tony, and Mbuemo from the Championship. And believe, someone correct me in the chat, but they went up with those three, and they're still in the Premier League. They're going to stay in the Premier League.
Connor, I watched them play Arsenal.
Brilliant, brilliant
listen,
setup.
With the exception of a couple of them, those players are nobodies. I mean, there are a couple really solid, good players there that are probably going to get poached away to some of the top clubs. But by and large, this is not one of the most talented. It's not even like top 15 most talented in the Premier League.
Yeah, well, Visser says, OIB says Visser wasn't in the chat. Was it? I know it was that, mate, but I'm pretty sure it was. Obviously, we knew it was Ben Rama, Watkins, and Mbuemo, but was it almost the first season they went up? Basically, it's happened very, very quickly that they got these players in, and they've essentially been with Brentford for a long period of time now. So I think it was either the first or second transfer window. Go and have a look anyway. But it's really staggering, and they've not gone out, they've not panicked, they've stuck with the same mold, and yeah, they have changed a little bit into more of a defensive unit. Profit from Pessimism, great name. Connor, your buddy from the Bahamas, shout out to you, mate. Great win, we are going up, but Peru can't score in a White House right now. Yeah, he's struggling, isn't he, mate? But his performance was a little bit better yesterday. But I am a little bit more like Gabe. I think it would be nice to see a little bit more. It would be nice to see a little bit more when it comes to, obviously, what was it, 1 goal contribution in 10.
But to be honest, at the end, this is 4 games left in the season. I don't care where we get the goals from. If they're own goals,
that's true. Yeah,
if they're
true. That's true. Yeah.
What you used to say? If Dan James scores with his ass, isn't that what you used to say? I don't care where it comes from.
If my dad says it all the time. Something like about a cat's cock air. It goes in. Cat's cock air. If it goes in, it's fine.
Literally could care less. I just want to win. If we win, I don't care who gets it. And at the end of the day, yeah, I would probably, if I was in charge, I'd probably ship a lot of these guys on. But hey, I will thank them on their way out, and I will celebrate them whilst they're here, as long as they get.
Yeah, well, let's just, as I said, we'll live in the moment. It's hard not to talk about the future right now, but we'll have content coming throughout the week. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us on this edition of the Hardline. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please like before you leave the video.
Not very hardline, was it?
No, it wasn't very hard line. It was soft line this week. It's very soft. Yeah, happy line. So yeah, guys, make sure you leave a like on the video. Check out our sponsors as well. Get involved in Match Bingo. That was a real laugh the other day on the watch along. Join the community over there. It's been an absolute pleasure, everybody. We'll see you on the other side. We've got content coming tomorrow with the debrief. We've got something special coming on Tuesday as well with one of your favorite content creators. See you there, everybody. Keep subscribed so you're notified as well. Switch that bell on, and we'll see you in a bit.